Welcome everyone to the Everyday Heroes podcast. Today we have Angel. She's on the podcast because she is a coach at Kids in Motion, and she works with children of all abilities and brings her lifelong passion for supporting kids into everything that she does. With a background of coaching children to ski and snowboard, Angel has a unique ability to connect with kids across all ages, personalities, and needs. Her approach is playful yet very empowering, and meeting children where they are and helping them believe in what they're capable of. Oh my gosh, I've seen this firsthand, guys. Through her work at Kids in Motion, Angel has deepened her skills in supporting neurodivergent children and learning how to create environments where they can grow, succeed, and feel proud of themselves. At the heart of her work, her simple belief is every child deserves to feel confident. Angel is committed to helping each child expand their skills, their voice, and their sense of self because they too can do hard things. Angel, welcome to the Everyday Heroes podcast.
Thank you, Nat. So lovely to be here.
So I just need to share with everyone that Angel is actually my Angel Boys coach at Kids in Motion, which is why I wanted her to come on. She is such a breath of fresh air. She's amazing. And I have seen such changes within him because just in his ability to come out of dysregulation, or even Angel's understanding of him when he is dysregulated, or what does this mean, or how does that look, and what does he need. And I think very much so Angel has also seen my son really go through the changes of seeing him very either limited speech or like almost non-speaking to now having a lot of speech. And so today I just wanted to jump on and just have this conversation with Angel and see what her life was looking like when she was younger, and what did that feel like, and then obviously we can touch on what's going on with Kids in Motion as well. So welcome.
Amazing. Thanks, Nat.
Okay, so let's go back to the very beginning.
Yeah.
What did that look like for you in a neurodivergent household?
Well, so growing up, so I've never fully had diagnosis, but I have a sister who is 4 and a little bit years younger than me, and a little brother who's 9 years younger than me. Both of them have ASD. Cleo is, I think, a level 2, Zig's a level 1. So both different kind of present quite differently as well. I feel like I struggled a bit growing up with my sister. We were very different in, like, I was very much, we're both sensory seekers, but very opposite sensory seekers. And she was extremely intelligent. Like, when she was about 4 years old, she was reading like big chapter books. I really struggled, and it took me a long time to find a learning style that worked for me. Like, I really struggle. I guess especially back in the day, it wasn't very much. It was more of a one size fits all when they would approach like learning. So I really struggled with comparing myself to my sister and like where her skills were at, which was something that I had to work through because we were very different on that. And I had to understand that my sister was very talented and gifted in those areas, whereas I had different areas that stood out for me. So I definitely feel like on the spectrum, but I relate a lot more to the ADHD side of things. And then with ASD, it's more of I don't know if it's definitely prevalent in my family because both my siblings have it, and then it's also cousins have it as well. But it's one of those things that I don't know if it's the household I grew up in. So it's like nurture over nature, and I've picked up on different traits because of it's such close proximity, or whether that just genuinely is in my nature to behave in those certain ways. So when I was younger, very big on sensory, I had to know what everything felt like. So if there was anything like squishy, but I couldn't see what was inside of it, like I had to cut it. I had to bite it. I had to know what was in it. I was banned from every slime, every squish toy, you name it. If it looked like it could be dissembled by me, it was going to be, and it was not in that household. And then another big, this one is probably the one that stands out for me the most, was sensory with food. Because as I've gotten older, it hasn't changed. I just understand it a lot more. So when I was younger, I pretty much, when it came to vegetables, the only vegetable I would eat was carrot, cucumber, lettuce, and sometimes tomato. If the tomato was too mushy, absolutely not. Things had to have a crunch in them. Could not handle anything that was mushy on its own. And obviously growing up, your parents think that that's just a push of, you don't like your vegetables. Whereas it was just that little bit past that. Like, it was genuinely a traumatic experience of, like, I can remember having to force myself to eat pumpkin, and the mushiness purely on its own. I love the taste of pumpkin, but the mushiness on its own would make me gag. Like, it was just horrible. These days, hate the texture of it, but I love the flavor. So I have to, if I'm going to have pumpkin, it has to be with something crunchy. It's like I'll have to have pine nuts in there or something. Like, I know that, same with avocado. Love the taste of avocado. Sensory wise, makes me want to die. Hate the sensor of that. Banana, the same. Like, there's so many different things that when I was younger, I was just like, ew, no, I hate it. But as I've gotten older, I'm like, I understand, I like the flavor of it, cannot stand the texture of it, but have found ways to make it work for me. So putting in crunches with it, or, I'll put bananas in things, but cannot eat them on their own. When you're younger, though, it does come across a bit more, because you can't articulate that the way that I'm articulating now. It does just seem like you're being fussy and that you're trying to fight back, and, that you're starting an argument, which a lot of my arguments with my parents were on sensory needs. But they just weren't aware of how much that affected me. And because I was so different to my brother and sisters in the way growing up, I was, especially when I was younger, so probably I started daycare at about 6 months. So I was around kids a lot. So from ages up until about 4 or 5, I really didn't struggle with making friends or interactions with kids and adults, especially adults I really got along with. It was only when I started to veer into primary school that I started to struggle. They started to have their cliques and their slots a little bit more. And that's where I started to struggle a bit, but not to a point when my parents were like, oh, she's really having social issues. Whereas one of my siblings, they did really struggle with the social aspect. And the social aspect plus their very extremely high intelligence is what made my parents want to seek help for them. And the reasoning, and we've discussed it later in life, as to why, like, they didn't feel that getting me diagnosed was a need, and they were more thinking I was on the ADHD path, was because I could make friends, and in their eyes, I was floating through, like, fine. But my whole life, I felt trying my hardest was floating still. Like, I never felt accomplished in school, or I never felt like I was doing the right thing. Like, it never really made much sense to me. And unless it was something I was interested in. So really interested in working with kids, did really well in early childhood. But every other subject, just if there was interest wasn't there, it was so hard for me to focus. And it's one of those things that I understand. Like, a teacher doesn't have the time. They've got 20 something students in their class. They don't have the time to keep coming back. But I also think sometimes to myself, what would it have been like if I had had that little extra help? Or if I had had that understanding for myself, even of I learn differently, or there is something a little bit different going on, rather than looking at everyone else and expecting to deliver the same results. But yeah, I really went on a tangent just then.
I love that. No, you know what? I feel like so many parents have just had their brains explode. Because you are able, this is what I love about you, Angel, is that you're able to articulate so many things that I think a lot of parents are going, I don't understand why he's not eating this thing. I don't understand why she's not, whatever. And I'm nervous that what if this is like leads to a nutritional deficiency, or what if this, especially if you've got parents who have very high expectations of children who maybe don't know that their child has to have extra needs, extra supports rather around them, and so expecting them to be up here, and
Yeah.
realistically, like, we've just got to look at that expectation. And I definitely know for myself, I've had to give myself a kick in the pants when I feel like I'm like, well, he should be here. He's not here. Why isn't he here? Like, I need him here. No. Relax, pull back, take it easy, take a breath,
100%.
have a coffee, eat something. Let's just talk, right? Eating helps everything. I don't know about you, but for me, eating helps with everything.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So there's so much to unpack just in that section.
Okay.
Let's go back to the beginning. With regards to the sensory stuff, I really love the idea of that you needed to get in and see what was inside. And was that just curious because you weren't sure what it was?
Yeah, it was like there were two really main sensory things for me. So finding out what a material was and what the real feeling of it was. So I remember one they used to sell at markets. It would be the clay in the balloon with the faces on them. Did you ever see those? So those,
I remember.
texture-wise, when I squeeze that, I can feel the balloon, but I knew that like something else was underneath. My brain needed to know and confirm and see what was underneath. And then once that was done, it was like, oh, like I like it's not like it even did anything for me. It was just like it would send me insane if I didn't know what this material was. And then another one that was quite bad when I was younger was needing to know what it tasted like or felt like to bite. So I did that with like a lot of things growing up. I do not recommend that to anyone. The worst one I did that I can still to this day remember biting on it was a bathroom tap. Like I was in the bath, I'm watching the water run, and I just looked at that tap and I was like, I need to know what that tastes like and feels like. And there was like lots and lots of things that I did that throughout my growing up till about probably 6. I probably was quite a biter on things. But that one has stayed with me and I for a long time. Like I think that did veer me towards stopping putting things in my mouth, which I'm very grateful for. But that was another just curiosity. Like the thought would just go around my brain, around. Like it was an itch that you needed to scratch. And as soon as you scratched it, it was like, oh, okay. There was some things that I would get like a little bit fixated on continuing to do it. But I feel like a lot of those were quite normal. It's like even you've got like your Polly Pocket clothes. Almost any girl that you talk to around my age that had Polly Pockets, they
I have
chewed
no
on
idea what you're talking about. What's a Polly Pocket?
It's like a little
How
toy.
old Angel lady talking
No,
about?
but they're these little. I honestly think I have one now. They're these little toys, but they have like little rubber clothes. Anyway, when you put this rubber and chew it in your mouth, it's like, I don't know how to explain it other than just being a sensory yep. Like, and so many people you talk to had that same just sensory yep. Outside, leaves, crunching leaves, such a minor thing. It was one of my favorite feelings. Noise, feeling, sound, like everything. I loved it. Still to this day, sometimes if I'm sitting outside, like a good crumple of a leaf.
Is that also with bubble wrap as well?
Oh, popping the bubble wrap. Yeah. See, I think that's everybody in this earth, isn't it? Everybody loves bubble wrap.
Although I say that, but like I remember when I was younger and I used to like make the cakes with mum, and then I would get like, obviously you're licking the bowl, obviously. But then you'd get the like the spatula, and especially if it was like the silicone one, and you'd get it, and I would just want to like I don't know why. And
Yeah.
I reckon my mum used to like, what is wrong with you?
But that's what I mean. Sometimes you don't even know why. You just know it's a sensory, yeah, like that does feel good. I'm going to keep doing it. Yeah.
When did you know, with regards to the food, at what age did you recognize that you didn't like the textures and it was more like, I like the flavor, but I don't like the texture, and this is what I'm going to do to rectify that?
I was really bad. Like growing up, mum would make me and the little brother that there's 9 years between us, we would have the same dinners and everyone else would have like their dinner. And then it got to a point where he like outgrew me and he was eating better than I was eating. And I was on my own with like the macaroni dinosaur pasta and the chicken nuggets. And I was like, okay. I started having sleepovers at friends' houses. This is veering more high school now. And I got really, really anxious and nervous to tell parents at their houses that I didn't like things. So I would just try it. And my mum would get so angry because I would come, like, I didn't try gravy for 16 years of my life. It was just, I couldn't, like the look of it, like all of it just sent me into a spiral. If it touched anything of mine, that was it for me. And I went to a friend's house and they had gravy. And my friend was like, you have to try this gravy. Like, it's the best gravy you'll ever have. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, I hate gravy so much. Like, don't you dare put gravy on my plate. And they put gravy on my plate. I can't give them the whole plate back. I can't complain. I'm like freeze mode, freaking out. I'm like, okay, have a bite. Just get through this. Best thing I've ever tasted. I was like, lasagna. Didn't try lasagna till I was, I think 16, 17 as well. Because just in my head.
No way.
There were so many things that just, if I touched it and it gave me like I couldn't do it. And there was so much food. And it genuinely was until I started going to friends' houses and I was way too scared to tell their parents, I'm not going to eat that. So I would try things. And I started to realize like, oh, I love that. Or especially with the pumpkin, having something crunchy. So like I went to my friend's house and her mum made a like pumpkin feta pesto, not pesto, pine nut like pasta. And there was something else that was in there that was crunchy. I remember seeing it and going, oh my God, I'm going to hate this. I'm going to cry. This is horrible. Like I'd eat pumpkin. And I ate it and I was like, a second bowl? I'll take a second bowl. Like mind blowing. And my mum used to get so angry because I'd come back after a sleepover and I'm like, Mum, have you ever had lasagna? Like this is the best thing ever. And she's just like, I've been trying to get you to eat that since you're like 5. And I'm like, okay, well, cook it tonight. I'm on. Like,
That is so funny.
Every time I come home, she's like, what do you eat now? And I'm like, oh, chuck the pumpkin on, Mum, but you gotta have some pine nuts with it. Like, once I started to understand that it wasn't actually the flavors, it was how, like the texture, how it made me feel. It wasn't until high school, and it wasn't until I was honestly scared to tell people I didn't want to eat that food. And there are still some that it's a sensory and it's a flavor. Don't like it. Like squash, I'll never do it.
What is squash? Can I just confirm
the little yellow things. I have no idea what they are, but I think that they are just same with zucchini. It's too mushy and it's just not it. I can't do it. Zucchini and eggplant. Ugh. Cooked carrot. Oh, like I still need a good crunch. I'm better. I'm an adult. I can eat it now, but I understand where it's coming from. Not a kid. I won't just like push it away from me. But it did take a while, and it was also really like it was really hard. There was a lot of fighting with my parents about it. Like they tried everything. Like they would, you can't get dessert. Okay, I won't have dessert. Sit at the table all night. All right, go get my pillow. This is my new bed. Like I was a stubborn kid too. Like when I felt a way about something, like there was no changing that, no veering it. But yeah.
I love that so much. It's I'm surprised that you didn't gag when you were at the friends' houses eating the news. Did you ever? No?
No, never gagged. Almost like a couple of times got very close to having panic attacks. But I don't think See, being at friends' houses, I've never had like the ones that I really can't do, like eggplant, zucchini. I feel like if they've ever been in the meals, I've done really well at eating everything else and just explaining. Like that, now that I am an adult, there are a few that I know that I don't eat. It was more being in that high school like mind of not wanting to upset other people and very like people pleasery mind, which I'm so glad because I ended up gaining so much food doing that. But I definitely thought when I was gonna like had the pumpkin pasta, I thought I was gonna gag. But it was also nice to see myself like challenge myself in those times and go, okay, I wish I kind of had done it for mum and like not wanted to upset her with her cooking. But it was nice to go, okay, I don't want to upset these people. Like, let's give it a try. And then we all kind of won in that situation. So
Did you find the limited food having any repercussions with your health? Obviously, as you were younger. Okay. So like constipation, that sort of stuff?
definitely
Sorry,
had some like no, you're fine. On and off, like, yeah, some on and off bowel issues. Like I was definitely wasn't really on the healthy side. And like it did get to a point with me, like when I was about 13, 14, where I also like got really into like quite upset about how I looked and like I wasn't getting much nutrition. So I wasn't very healthy. And it was starting to like I could feel that I wasn't healthy. And also once you're in high school, you start comparing to other people. So it all kind of hit me around 13, 14, which probably played into trying new foods as well. Of like, I didn't want to be like that forever. Like I did get to a point where I found it embarrassing that like I would eat chicken nuggets and carrot sticks. And especially if I had friends over, it was like they were having the dinner that my parents and my sister and my brother were all eating, and I was having my chicken nuggets and my little salad. So I think peer pressure did play into it, but in a positive way for me, if that makes sense.
Moving into friendships, what did that look like for you? Especially because girls, my daughter is 9 going on 21, and you know, it's hard. It's hard to navigate female friendships. Like I think back to when I was younger. I don't remember there being this much like drama.
Oh, it's shocking.
And it's full
It
on.
is
And
shocking.
then some of them are nasty pasties. And I was like, how do you even know that? Like, how do you even know that? Like, I don't even understand how you know what that even means. Or
well,
yeah, go ahead.
I can only like imagine now, especially with the internet as well, how much harder it would be. I really struggled. Like I was really good in daycare, and I had like my group in daycare. And I think that's because of a lot of us had been there for such a long time. We were like family. Once I got out of that and went into primary school, I really struggled, probably up until year 4 when we moved. I could not really keep friends. I had like one kind of good friend, but I don't know, I missed a few of the social cues. I was a little bit weird at times that I guess other people, I don't know. I don't even know what to put my finger on it. I was a bit of a loner at that time, but I was also didn't look at it like I was a sad loner. I was also happy to kind of float around at that age. I really got along with adults at that age. So when I was in year 2, like I considered my best friend in the whole world. She was like a 40-year-old. She lived next door to my grandmother.
A 40? Did you say a 40-year-old?
So she was my grandma's friend. Had been friends, like she'd known me my whole life. She lived next door to my grandma. And so I used to go over, anytime I went and saw my grandma, I would go over, we'd like do painting together, like we would chat. But my parents brought me up around a lot of adults. And my mum had this very stern idea of not letting people talk to me like a child. They had to speak to me like an adult. So I was really good at articulating myself to adults and found it easier and more comfortable talking and being around the adults. And then when I got to about year 4, I moved away from the area I lived in. And that was the first time I found I started to actually fall into like a girls group, a clique. Horrible. They're mean. From year 4 to year 12, it was on it like girls are some of the meanest people, and primary school and high school can be some of the meanest, clickiest, hardest to understand what's going on. It's a time where you're trying to figure out who you are, but you're also punished if you're not falling into the grain of everyone else. So it's a really confusing time of you're either kind of following along with what other people are doing and not feeling confident in yourself, or you're starting to feel confident in yourself, but then other people are attacking you because it's not what they deem normal, or, you know, what's cool or in fashion, or, you know, all of those kinds of things. I'm really lucky that I had like 3 really good girlfriends that I had from about 14 to still now. But there's been a lot of people in and out of that I have struggled with, and especially in primary school and high school, I really struggled with the clickiness, and the one day they love you, the next day for no reason, and I'm talking no reason, you're out. And I had also been on the other hand of that, like being in a group and them deciding, oh, X, Y, and Z isn't in the group anymore. But you're also so scared of being put in that position that you're kind of go along with it. And I think that's a really big part of it, is that fear of being isolated, that fear of getting left out, or you're the one that's going to do it. You kind of, like, I look back at some of my primary school and I'm like, oh, there were times where I definitely fell on the bully side as opposed to being the bullied. Like, I've fallen on both ends of the spectrum, but there's been times where I've definitely taken up bully so that I wasn't bullied, which is horrible. But it is one of those things that you do, like, yeah, subconsciously, because you don't want to be exiled and you don't want to be the target of all of it. And you're too young to think of the consequences of what you're doing to someone else as well. You're so egocentric in the way of it's about you, and that's so normal for kids. It's not, I'm not saying that's so normal. I can only imagine now, like, I was on the cusp of the internet really playing into this, and phones and all that. I was really the cusp of it. I didn't have phone in primary school, but high school I did. But I can only imagine, like, they can't escape anymore. Like, there is no escape. If you are getting bullied at school, if you've got a phone, they're following you home. And that's such a scary thought for parents. Like, when I have a child, like, where they will not have any social media or a smartphone until they're 18. I saw the detriment of it being a teenager myself, and I don't see any necessity to it. I don't think it's needed. I don't think you gain anything from it. I think you lose a lot from it, especially being young. And then you have your whole life that you get to use it and enjoy it, and you understand it, you know, and you're safer using it. But under the age of 18, I don't really see the purpose of it.
It's interesting because the studies that are that are coming out are showing that, you know, our prefrontal cortex just isn't developed, especially in autistic children, until they're well into adulthood, right? So if you've got a boy or a girl, right? Let's for instance, let's take a boy who is autistic, who, you know, their prefrontal cortex hasn't developed until they're maybe in their mid-20s, and they're playing Roblox at the age of like 12, right? And not understanding the consequences of what that looks like. Now, is everyone going to be groomed on Roblox? I don't know. Probably not. I'm sure it's. I don't know, and I don't have the app, so I don't want to be like, I'm an expert at Roblox. No, I'm not. But I just think that there are unfortunately just so many predators out there, which
100%.
spoil it for everybody else. And I wish that we could get online and be able to have such a beautiful way of connecting, because it's such a nice way to be able to connect with people who aren't necessarily in your town, in your state, in your country, that you can be like, hey, we're friends and we're pen pals and we can, you know, connect this way and we can have a shared interest. But unfortunately, there's some turd burgers out there that like to ruin it for everybody else. Yes, very big turd burgers. With regards to siblings, how was that with you growing up, and how did that feel?
I really struggled with my sister. We both really struggled. I don't know if that also comes into like, it's 4.5 is a little bit of a weird age gap to have. You're close enough that you kind of can do stuff together, but there's a bit more just, I don't know. It's a funny age I found, but I really, really struggled with comparing. Like anything that Cleo kind of picked up and was better at me, I was like, chuck the dummy. Okay, that's her thing then. Like, so there was a few things like art was one of them. I loved art when I was younger, and then they got really into art, and they're amazing at art. But I just took it as, okay, well, that's your thing then. Like, I can't have that. If you're that good at it, I can't even, put myself in this equation. And so I did that with like a lot of things. I did that with academic stuff. I did that with craft stuff. In my eyes, my thing was like music and movies. And that was, my fixations and obsessions. My brother, very different, because the 9 years between us, I was very maternal over him. Like, I genuinely, in my heart of hearts, believed that when I was like 9 or 10, walking down the street with him, people looked at us and went, mother and daughter. Like, crazy, a little bit crazy about it. I definitely was a bit parentified with him. So there's a very different like feelings that I get when I look back at our growing up together. I definitely feel a lot more like my brother's parent, whereas I feel like my sister's sister. Like we only really started to get along, gosh, I want to say like 4 years ago. Just so different. And we saw the world so differently. She was very, very logical mindset. I'm quite a emotional mindset. So lots of things where she would just understand it if it made logical sense. My brain couldn't like comprehend that, like thought that my brain took it as like she didn't care about certain things when I was younger. I obviously have a completely different understanding of all of that now. And vice versa. Like, I'm sure that they felt like I was quite a bully to them in some of those senses, because I felt very competitive and almost very jealous sometimes of, well, it's just not fair that you just can pick stuff up and, understand it. Why I can't understand anything. Why does it take me so long to understand everything? And that was one of the things I really struggled with. And then, I guess sometimes our parents weren't the best. Like, our parents were a bit pin us against each other. I don't know if I don't think it was intentional, but little young kids are sensitive to what you say to them and how you make things competitive or how you compare them. And I did a lot of it subconsciously. Like, I put out a front of that I was more confident than her or that I felt better. But I knew majority of the time it was like I was competing and I was looking at it like I was behind her. And she probably looks at like how I had better social skills and had different friends coming over. Like, that was probably a big part of her life, that she's like, well, I wish I had that. I wish I understood school better. We had different things that we were struggling with, but we didn't come together and help each other with them. We looked at each other and we're like, you're adding to this competitiveness, or you're almost making my life harder. Like, you're pointing out what I'm not good at. And it took us a lot of years to kind of come back from that. And it's only been into our adulthood that we've been able to sit down and actually have open conversations and healthy conversations about that, and understanding that maybe it wasn't always us as well. Maybe there were external factors contributing to that. And there's like a bit of regret in that. But it's also nice that we're at a place now where we can actually talk about those things. My brother, on the other hand, though, that was my baby. That was my like, I did everything for him and still would to this day. So even like looking at that, I feel sorry for my sister of, you know, I wasn't always the nicest to her, and then she had to watch the next one come in, and I was so overly, barely nice to this one. That's like, well, what? That's not the sister that I got. Like, so I can completely sympathize with that as well.
I can absolutely understand whether you're typical or neurodivergent. If you're in a household where one child is gifted, and that feeling of but feeling like you're being behind or that they are excelling, like if I can only imagine, like if my brothers were picking up a book at 4 and reading chapter books at 4, I'd be like, well, then just, what's the point? Like, what,
Literally.
Do you know what I mean? Like it'd be so disheartening, and it would be so you would feel such a loss of, well, what's the point of even trying if he's going to be, going excelling at whatever it is, and I'm just going to be like getting like an average mark or maybe below average, and like what that does to a child's confidence. Not to say that there's nothing wrong with being gifted. Obviously, we love it, but we want to make sure that everybody is taken care of in the family, and what that looks like and how that feels like in a sibling, right? Because I think as parents, there's a lot of such pride if a child is gifted, right? What a lot of people don't understand is that with gifted, and I don't know whether you saw this with your sister, is that there's also an extra element, especially when you were saying about the sensory side. There's also another side that comes with being gifted. Like, it's not all like, you're a super smart, but you're also super social, and you're all like, excelling at every single aspect of life. It doesn't work like that. And so, there is definitely, for parents, there's such a sense of pride when their child is doing exceptionally well. But I've said this on the podcast, and I've written blogs about it. Being academic smart is one thing. Being smart in a social sense, being street smart, just is so important as well. Because how many times have I seen kids, especially in older year levels, when we were going through high school, getting them like ducks of the year, right? Do you guys have ducks? I don't even know if that's like
I know what it is, but
so basically getting the highest. It's the highest ATAR in the school.
Yes. And
then going into uni and it all falling apart because you don't have those structures in place, and you don't have an ability to, like, no one's being accountable. Like, if you're not going to rock up for your course, no one cares, right? If you fail the course, no one cares. Like, no one's going to be there holding your hand going, okay, Bobby, like, let's go. You've got to go to your like psych lesson at 2:00. Like, if he's been out drinking all night and just can't be bothered, Bobby's not going nowhere. So, and we see that with a lot of kids who maybe are flying under the radar, right? Who maybe present very typically, but maybe needed some more support, but not in the way that you would think. And then they get out of that very structured environment, and it all just turns to crap. And, I've seen it time and time and time again, whether it's generations in front of me or generations that are still to come. It happens, and we just need to be able to support this child the best way that we can. Because going back to that feeling of parents putting a lot of emphasis on being academic smart, great, love it. It's not the end all or be all, right? It's simply not. There are too many other ways that you can achieve success in this world other than just academics, right? Like, I wouldn't go up to Celine Dion and be like, yeah,
math question.
You suck. Like, we're really not sure.
Good voice, but can you do 7,000 times 2? I could do that. That was a really bad one.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not all what it's cracked up to be about having this academic side. And I want parents to hear that, because we have schools who are just pummeling it down their throats that this is the only way forward, and it's just a load of baloney. I don't buy that.
Like, there are so many kids like me that you cannot get your brain to do it unless you have interest in it. And if you've got interest in it, you excel and do an amazing job. And in life, that's the path you're going to take. So why would you get fixated on, Pythagoras theorem or writing an essay when you know that there are paths in life that you can take to get to where you want to go? Yeah.
Okay, so one other question I want to ask you is, so you're in school, something's come up, it's hard, it's not a passion, it's not an area of interest. What are you doing? What strategies are you putting in place in order to complete the assignment?
I was really bad. It was the night before. I could not physically get myself to sit down and do it until it was on an extreme time pressure deadline. Because if I didn't have interest in it, I would get distracted. I would zone out. So I'd be rereading the same thing 20 times. Like, I'm really bad for zoning out, especially dissociating if I'm not interested in something. So really bad for dissociating. It was always pretty much every single assignment I've ever done, unless it was something I was really interested in, has been done the night before.
And taking out the piece of disassociating, and do you feel like you need the time pressure in order to work well? Like, because some people feel like they need the pressure in order to excel.
Yes and no. So I think in order to do it, if I've got no interest in it, then yes, it needs to be time pressured, and it needs to be like you only have this to get it done. At Kids in Motion, so I write the lesson plans with Gideon. I do the 3 to 6 year old programs. I love doing those. I do them. I write them like throughout the term. I have a lot of fun with them. It's not something that I leave to the last minute and then cram in. But this is one of like the first things, I guess, like academically, that I've been like this. Everything else, I've thought that was the way that I operated. Like, I just had to be in a time deadline and like cram it. But I think it genuinely just is, if I have the time to procrastinate or if I have the time to get distracted, I will take that time. And then it's like I'm wasting more time because I'm not actually doing what I'm meant to be doing. I'm procrastinating not on things I'm even meant to be doing. It's like I would be better off just taking that day and going and doing something fun and then coming back that night and cramming it in, because I cannot motivate myself. I'm really bad for motivating myself.
Oh no, I love that. I love that you've been able to articulate it, because as a parent, we're often seeing that, like, have you done this? Have you done that? Have you, you've got that assignment. It's due on Friday. You got to make sure you got to get it done. But being able to go, well, it's not a zone of interest, so I have to wait until the end so I can get it done and get it out of the way. No, it makes complete sense. But this is what parents are looking for, though, Angel. Like, they don't understand what it is. And so you being able to articulate what it means makes it so much easier for them to go, oh, I get it now. Like, I understand why the child is doing the things that they're doing.
It's not to annoy anyone or to be like, it's a genuinely, and the worst part is, it's not like you don't have an impending feeling of doom. Like, the feeling is still there of like, oh my God, I have to get this done. Like, you need to get this done. But my brain's just like, meh, not right now, girl. It ain't happening. And it's just like this internal battle.
And how do you quieten that in your mind?
Now that I'm older and like, I don't really have much that I need to work on that I don't enjoy anymore. So I guess the closest I could relate it to is like lesson plans right now, is if I feel like I'm not in the mood for it, I will give myself a time. So it'll be like, I'll start at 12:30, you have 12:30 to 1:30. You get whatever you can done in that time. And this is only if I've got like time to work on it. If I'm on a deadline and that thing's due tomorrow, you're sitting there, you're doing it. There is no quietening anything. It's just get through it. But if I've got like a whole term and I know I've got lots of time in that term, I'll give myself little moments, and I will give myself a time bracket. so that I can kind of reward myself after that. So 12 to 1:30, you have to sit down and write. Whether you write 5 words or you write 500, you just have to be in that space. I'm also someone that I need background noise when I'm doing that kind of stuff. So I'll be it's really bad. Like I'll put on trash TV, like reality TV. If I need to focus, it sounds so ridiculous. If I need to focus in on something really intensely, I have to have some kind of trash going on. Like somebody yelling in the background on my TV. Yeah, that's got me locked in. I'm writing for days. Like, I don't know if it's almost like a little reward. Like I can look up and see something, have like a little giggle, get back to it. It's not real to me. Like I don't need to pay attention to it, but it keeps me in the zone. I can't have quiet. I cannot do any work in silence. Like my brain will start to do its own thing. Music's a funny one. I love music so much, but music really affects what I'm putting out. So like I love art. I love doing art. I really can't listen to music when I'm doing art because it will affect what I'm producing. So if I'm going into art of this is a free for all, let my feelings out, then I can listen to music. If I have a set thing that I want to paint or draw or do, I cannot listen to music because it will interfere with where that's going, and it'll change the picture and it'll change the whole end of it. But music's like that when I'm focusing on writing stuff. So I will listen to really random podcasts, like the most random podcast you can think of, no interest in it when I can actually hear it. Like I don't actually hear what they're saying. It turns into muffled noise, but I just need that muffled noise there. Otherwise I can't get into a zone.
One more question before we wrap up is, what would you tell parents who maybe are going through the diagnosis right now or are a few years into the diagnosis and maybe their feelings of grief or overwhelm, or they're seeing their child mouthing things or having the meltdowns or having the sensory overloads? Like, what would you tell them as a way of having lived the life that you have lived?
It's so much easier said than done, but like patience, honestly, patience goes a long way. I would say there's probably there would be 4 to 5% of the time where I was being a kid still. I was being cheeky. I was pushing the boundaries, but that 95% of the time I needed a little bit more support. So I think trying to be on your kid's level a little bit more. You're obviously amazing with Leo. Like, as much as trying to help them figure it out, you've got to let them figure out what works for them, because you can't ever fit them into a mold. So every single one of us and every single one looks completely different. Sorry. And we've seen that especially with Leo. We've been working together for 2 years now, from where he first started, and me slowly trying to understand him. Like our first few sessions, a lot of it was him running and stimming and me observing. Sometimes it is just genuinely stepping back and observing if stims have come out, what just happened before that stim? What's happening while he's stimming? If it's a safe stim, letting them stim, join that stim, be comfortable in that stim. Obviously, if it's an unsafe stim, don't redirect it. Try and find another stim that maybe does the same thing. If they're hitting their head on a wall and they're rocking, sit on the ground with them, squeeze them as tight as you can and rock with them. Let them hit their head on your chest. They're still getting that feeling. It's a feeling that they're craving, but you've turned it into a safer environment. And I think just being with them and not making it feel like they're being different, I think that is the world of difference. In my household, my sister stimmed a lot more than I did, and she got reprimanded for her stimming a fair bit, just because they purely didn't understand it. And it was looked at as why are you doing that? Which you don't need any explanation. Why do neurotypical people not stim? Our bodies feel weird. sometimes, sorry, I need to shake my hands. Like, why do you not need to shake your hands? Why do you not need to tap your foot? Why do you not need to hit things? Like, as much as you can look at why do neurodivergent people do what they do, sometimes I look at neurotypical and go, why do you guys do that? Like, how are you guys having a small talk right now? Like, you know what I mean? It's just supporting them, being there for them, and making sure, really, and not to sound mean, but that you're not their first bully, and you're not trying to take away things from them that they don't have the control over. Because I think that's one of the things I saw really affect my sibling, especially coming with like stimming and stuff. This is the first time that they really realized that they were like different, and it was in their eyes not acceptable. Whereas like pretty much all of my privates that I work with, I'll join in the stims. We stim together. Sometimes there was one time where Leo came in and we had the same stim that day. I had the universal intro stuck in my head, no idea why. And Leo came in and he was singing it. And I was like, all right, you and me, mate. Two peas in a pod here.
You guys sync so well together, though. Like, there's something that is, I can't put a finger on it. He connects with you in a way that is so different to any other connection I have ever seen. And it's such a beautiful connection to watch. And it's so lovely to see, how excited, first of all, he gets when he wants to go to Kids Emotion, but then when he knows that you're there and that he knows that I think that feeling like you get me, so I don't have to pretend, right? I don't have to put that mask on. I don't have to think that I'm going to be something else. And I totally agree with you about the whole reprimanding for stims. I have seen it, a lot of it, very much in European cultures. I know that there are other cultures that do it where it was just don't do that. We don't want to be drawing attention to the fact that you are neurodivergent. So like, if you can look as neurotypical as possible, tick. And I just think, well, that's just a load of baloney. Like, who made these rules?
And also, you can have a very dysregulated kid if you're taking away their regulation tactics. Like, if your kid is in public and they need to give their hand a little shake because it's too much there, let them do that. Otherwise, it's going to turn into a lot bigger situation.
And I also see a lot, and I'll say it especially from my own experience, was when Leo used to stim when he was younger, and like, you'd panic because in my mind, like, oh no, he's neurotypical, like, and just so desperate to hold on to that feeling that he was neurotypical. Mate, like, he's not neurotypical. Like, let's just calm down. Like, there's nothing. He's not broken. He's not bad. He's not any of those things. He is just a different version of, like, the Apple and the Samsung. I often refer to this. They're both amazing phones. They just run differently. And this idea that we are going to say, no, you can't show up the best way possible is ridiculous. That'd be like if you said to me, Angel, Nat, you can never have a bath again. I reckon I would cry, and then I would just, I reckon I'd probably punch the wall. Like, that's how angry I would get. Because, like, I need the bath to just, and then not just the regulation. Bath, Angel. I need that thing like boiling when you get in. Yeah. I've gotten out sometimes. I'm like, I think I'm going to throw up. But I'm like, you know what? I need to get out of here, right? Get out of here so I can get back in here. And it's a beautiful way of regulating. We all have ways that we're regulating, but sometimes not always the best. Not the smoking, the porn, the the affairs, the drugs, the drinking, the social media. Like, all of that is a way that we are regulating our nervous system, but not in a healthy way. So when we're talking about healthy regulation, what does that look like? So I love that. Angel, is there anything else that you wanted to say before we wrap up?
Just thank you so much for having me. It was a great discussion.
I love having you on, my love. You are so wonderful. You have changed our lives for the better. Oh, see, I do this.
Well, me too. That's the thing. Working with Leo, like, I've even, learned so much about myself and stims that I have. Like, I didn't realize the squishing your head on someone as hard as you physically can is a stim. And then when he started doing that to me, I was like, hang on, I do that to my partner. Like, And he's like, yeah, like, I love you. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like I do that to people.
He does that to me a lot. Absolutely. And he does it so hard that I'm like, oh, mate,
I know that I love that feeling, Nat. It's so bad.
No, it's so good. Thank you so much again for coming on. And thank you for sharing and being so vulnerable in being able to share, because I know it's helped so many parents. And I think that this podcast episode is going to be one that they're going to go down as being something very important that parents can use as a way of understanding what their child is going through. So thank you.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Nat.
Thank you. All right. I'll chat to you soon. See you later. Bye.
Bye.